here it is.
Hey there, I am Mycroft. I want to use Plasma on my big screen TV. How about? At little voice apps here. At little traditional applications there. A bunch of KCMs everywhere. And we have your Plasma big screen experience ready for use. Now let's see one of my voice apps in action. Hey Mycroft. Show me what's trending on YouTube. Glad that works. Now how about browsing the web? Let's try that with a remote instead. Let's check out Wikipedia. Some scroll down. Some scroll up. And back to home. That was amazing. Let's now learn more about Plasma Big Screen from my team.
Okay, now how I do get back to the presentation, or I do have to... Okay, I have to upload the presentation again. I think so. So I do upload the presentation. Presenter. Okay, here we are on the presentation again. You just seen some feature of Plasma Big Screen. So as you seen is a big media center, which is meant to run on a TV. Our reference hardware is a Raspberry Pi 4, and we use it as connected with HDMI and HDMI and to the TV with a remote control connected to the Raspberry Pi 4. When you are on a TV, it's very different than writing an application for the desktop, because there you have only very few inputs. So the input is very different. You don't have mouse and keyboard, you don't have touch, you just have a remote control with a few direction keys, media keys, and not much else. Recently you have voice as well, and we used also voice support with the Microsoft voice assistant and some integration with it. And also the output is very different. It's a very big screen, but it's very far, so the information must be really not dense. Plasma Big Screen is written mostly in Qt and QML. So QML with regards to keyboard navigation, it's very tricky, but also very powerful if you follow some rules. There are some old keyboard navigation things that were inserted and at at the beginnings of the QML lifecycle, which is better to not use much anymore, like the keys.forward to attached event. But there are also newer things that are very useful, like in navigation, which I will talk a bit more in detail later. This is our reference remote control. It's a pretty standard thing. They are pretty cheap. They are seen as a USB keyboard. It has a little USB dongle. So the arrow keys are seen as actual arrow keys, and so on. That makes really easy to implement things that work with it. It also has an internal microphone. It's also seen as a USB sound card for the microphone, which is very important. It's very important for the Mycroft integration. Some of them also have a kind of Wiimote gyroscope kind of thing for controlling the mouse, but we chosen to not to depend from that in Plasma Bigscreen, as it's at most a nice fallback when there is some UI that it's not really up to par, but we want to have a good UI. So the workflow interaction of Plasma Bigscreen is very simple. You turn on the TV, you see a big full screen of menu items, and then you choose what item to launch, and then you go back. Now I don't have much time left, so I will just go quickly over things. So we have some settings done with system settings and KCM, which has been optimized a lot for keyboard interaction. The primary user interface is done by a Plasma shell using Plasma Nano, which is mostly a kind of framework to build shells on it, but it's not a shell in itself. All you see, it's a containment. The last thing I want to touch on is the QML and key navigation. As I said, use the key navigation attached property. With it, you can specify where the focus goes when you press up, down, left, right on each control. So it's a very verbose API, but if well used, you can make key navigation go pretty well. Also focus scope, it's a very good thing, as memorizes with the difference between focus and active focus, where the focus was in the last focus scope. Unfortunately, I don't have time to talk more about it, but I will happy to answer any question about it. Now I will leave the microphone to Aditya. Please take it away.
Hello. Hope everyone can hear me.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aditya, and today I'm going to be talking about voice applications and what's so special about voice applications. So for one, voice applications aren't your traditional desktop applications. They are basically Python scripts written in Mycroft. They don't draw their own window. Python voice applications have a QML user interface and basically can provide a different user interface for different type of devices without having to rewrite a skill. Voice applications can also be served over the network. Micro voice skills on being bundled with a QML user interface and a traditional desktop entry file is actually what turns these vanilla micro skills into voice applications. These voice applications are then installable from online stores and gain the ability to become launchable via the Bigscreen launcher. To support these operations, Micro GUI application provides a skill launching framework. So let's talk more about what is the Micro GUI and what are Micro GUI skills. Micro skills are generally developed in Python and provide all the logical functioning of the voice application. These skills can then take advantage of the micro skill class to perform operations such as speaking dialogues and sending data over to an enclosure. Micro enclosures can be of any type of service. They can be a video service, they can be an audio service, or they can be actually a physical device that can output data from a micro skill. Micro GUI is both a framework and an application, powered by Kirigami and Qt. The Micro GUI framework provides a skill view in which these awesome voice applications display their pages. It additionally also provides an API to talk to Micro's enclosure API that serves as a data pipe for skill events, GUI event triggers that are accessible over Micro's WebSocket message bus. So Micro GUI's awesome architecture for displaying skill pages and data can take advantage of Qt's file selectors to be able to deploy the same voice application across multiple platforms with a dedicated user interface for each platform. For example, Plasma Bigscreen, which is mainly designed to work with key navigation and USB remotes, can use the Media Center file selector to display pages and serve QML files that support key navigation and tile-based user interfaces. One could also use the Android file selector for a touch-based interface for something like an Android mobile platform. Let's look at some of the history of packaging voice applications. So one of the early implementation challenges we faced while working on the voice application concept was packaging. Micro skills are traditionally lived inside an author's Git repository, which have been generally only installable via the skill command line interface using repository links provided by authors. We wanted to make this process much simpler by providing a graphical user interface utility, and that's how the skill installer was born. One of the concepts was to have a central location for listing all the voice skills and applications without actually searching for GitHub and forum links for people posting their voice apps or voice skills. It was then we figured that we could actually utilize the awesome Plink store and the OCS API to achieve this. The Micro Skill Installer is a graphical front end to Micro's own Skill Manager command line utility. It provides support for OCS-enabled API stores that can link their data to the skill installer. Authors can add voice applications by listing them under the Microsoft Apps category on the Plink store. Voice applications listed on the Plink store by the authors then provide the graphical user interface, skill meta information like which branch the installer should use, or if the voice applications need any specific system dependencies installed to work correctly. This creates a much cleaner installation and distribution experience for both the users and voice application and voice skill developers. Moving on, let's talk about skills with a home page. Home pages provide that traditional application experience when using non-voice input methods to voice applications. Home pages are like an entry point to the voice application. they provide a central interface for controlling the voice application, either via key navigation or via voice navigation. Home pages are also required to tell the skill desktop entry file which skill pages should be displayed when opening a voice application from the launcher. So voice applications are really easy to get started with. With all one needs is a basic idea of what they would like the application to do. This can be as complex as interacting with video service library APIs online, displaying hundreds of playable movies that can be made interactive through a conversational style voice interface, or can be a simple displaying images gallery or speaking quotes from some website. One can refer to the detailed documentation with examples for Plasma Bigscreen website and Microsoft's own documentation site to read about developing your first GUI-enabled voice application using the Microsoft GUI framework. Microsoft GUI framework also provides a bunch of templates to help you get started with making simple skills. And the freedom of QML is not only limited to these templates. The power to explore what voice applications can be made to do is only limited to one's own creativity, and Plasma Bigscreen users would surely be glad to have more of them. Feel free to drop into Plasma Bigscreen Telegram channel for more updates, discussions, or any help regarding voice applications. Thank you. We're good for questions.
Doesn't seem to be questions, not yet. So we can fill up a bit the time by going a bit more in details.
Yeah, sure, we can. You still have 7 minutes.
Yeah, but please feel free to do any question about.
Yes, everyone, if you have questions, please share it in the shared notes so I can let them know. Okay, attendees are asking for some demo. Is that possible at the moment?
I don't think at the moment. Aditya, do you have something set up?
Not really, not right now.
Okay.
So
Is
yeah.
there any work session for this?
So the nearest to a demo right now, I think, is the video that we posted at the beginning, which I am posting a URL now in the chat. So that video has actual screens and actual interaction of Plasma Bigscreen. The kind of a bit robotized voice there is in the foreground is the actual voice of Mycroft that has just been modified to actually to speak a description of the video. But it is the voice that you will hear when you interact with it. In the Mycroft setup, there are a couple of 3 or 4 different voices that you can choose from. So yeah, in the end, we chose to do a very simple and basic thing for now. Partly also because we think that experience of watching a TV is not much using the Chrome that there is around, but it's actually watching the stuff. So
I'm so sorry, Marco, to interrupt you, but we have few questions.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
The first question is, what's the base system and how do I install it on a Pi 4?
Okay, so we have now an image on based on Neon, and I will post later in the chat a link to the image. So installing it on the Pi 4, it's quite easy. You download the image, you flash it on a microSD, and as it's usual with Raspberry Pi, You just put the micro SD in the Raspberry Pi and boot it, and it's okay. Very later version of the Raspberry Pi can also boot from USB. You would have to make some manual modification on the image for doing that, but it's kind of supported as well.
Okay. Our next question, we just have 3 minutes, so it will be quick. Any idea how far the integration on post-market OS is for Bigscreen?
Okay, so I can take that. From what I know, there are a few packagers on post-market OS who are trying to package Bigscreen and Mycroft for post-market OS.
Okay, great. The other question is there a Python wrapper for the OCS Link Store API?
So yes, I think there is a Python wrapper, but we don't use the Python wrapper. We use the Qt stuff directly.
Okay, great. So the last question, which applications are supported for Bigscreen? Qt only, GTK? Do they need to be optimized for remote control?
Okay, so basically the thing is, on the last question, do they need to be optimized for remote control, is yes. So any application that works decently with the remote control, and it's at the moment packaged on Neon or packaged on Postmarket OS, that is supported. But if on one end you could really launch the GIMP, the GIMP on there, but you wouldn't do much with it in the end. So if an application is GTK, or if it has a private toolkit, it's okay as long as they work nicely with the remote control. You can, for instance, you can just install Kodi alongside and launch Kodi as an application. That's perfectly supported. But yeah, just anything goes as long as works well with the remote control.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Marco. Thank you, Aditya, for such an amazing talk. We now take a
Thank you very
short
much.
break, 5-minute break, and then we'll be switching to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Hello everyone, welcome back. Please welcome our next speaker, Ambady, who is going to talk about free software, press freedom, and KDE. Ambady, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Am I clear now? Hi everyone, my name is Ambady, and I'm here to talk about free software, press freedom, and KDE. First, I will introduce myself. I'm basically working as a full stack web developer, and I'm also a programmer. I work at a company called AlphaFox Technologies. It's located in a small state of Kerala in India. I'm also a member of Free Software Community of India. You can compare FSCI to Framasoft in France. We provide privacy respecting services. We promote free software in India, coordinating various free software communities and all. So the main topic of my topic is about a newspaper in Kerala. It's called Janayugom. We speak a language called Malayalam in the state of Kerala. This Janayugom paper is owned by CPI Kerala State Committee. It's a political party. It has almost about 100k readers, and it is founded in 1947. So talking about the background of the story, it started with the Janayugam paper's decision to migrate to a newly advanced technology stack. The main reason for this is because of their increasing cost of proprietary software. They weren't able to continue their work, so they were looking for alternative solutions. There are also other reasons, such as the unfriendly government policies. It was interrupting their industry. As you can see, in 2019, Reporters Without Borders has ranked India 140 out of 180 countries in the Press Freedom Index. Actually, it's a very pathetic situation. The newspaper and other media are trying hard to survive. So the first decision of Janayugam was to switch to Adobe InDesign, which they already used Adobe PageMaker before, but as I said, the increasing cost prevented them. So checking for alternatives, they ended up with a free software artist called Praveen Arimbrathodi, who suggested them to use Scribus, and that's how they came to meet us. As you can see in the photo, this is the Janayugam free software project migration team. This is the old software stack they used. It consisted of Microsoft Windows, an ASCII to Unicode converter tool called Typeit, which only works on Windows. They also have other Adobe tools such as PageMaker and Photoshop. So what we suggested them is to use free software instead, of course, including Scribus. Instead of just switching only the typesetting software, we also suggested them to change the entire stack, including operating system. And the primary choice was KDE based Ubuntu or Kubuntu. we suggested that we could develop a custom distro for them based on this Kubuntu. We chose Kubuntu 19.04, consisting Plasma desktop, Scribus, and we added a software called Janayugom Edit. Previously, I mentioned type it, right? So, as an alternative for it working GNU Linux, we developed our own from scratch a ASCII to Unicode converter, and it's called Janayugom Edit. And we also added GIMP and Inkscape to the stack. And these are the other softwares. It includes Giet, Ocular, Firefox, LibreOffice, Flying Shot Kruda. Actually, they were very happy with the new software stack which they have been introduced to. So let me get a little bit back more to the story. This is H. Hussain from Kerala. He used to design various custom Unicode fonts. So in this project, his role was to design 3 different Unicode fonts for Janayugom. Till then, they only used ASCII, which was in Adobe PageMaker, which didn't support Unicode. H. Hussain, we call him Hussain Master, along with Ashokan Master. It was them who contacted us regarding this migration project. As the Adobe InDesign wasn't affordable, they consulted Hussain Master first. And Ashok Kumar, he's also from Kerala, who has more than 4 decades of expertise in the art of typesetting. So they came to know about Scribus from Praveen, and they contacted us. Like I said before, we suggested them Scribus and a Kubuntu-based software stack. Our team also consisted of these members, as you can see in the picture right now. Talking from leftmost, it is Kannan. Right next to him with one bag, she's called Sharanya. And the one behind her is Ranjit Siji. And next to him is Ashokan Master. And the one in the center with white shirt is Rajaji Matthew. And we have Mujib, me, and Hussain Master in the photo. This is the core team who worked behind this migration project. Kannan, Ranjit Siji, Muji, and Ambady, we work together in Alpha 4 Technologies. As I said, the migration also included migration from ASCII to Unicode as well. 3 different fonts were developed called T-Enjoy, R-Sugadan, which consists of exclusive character set in Malayalam, unlike in ASCII, which didn't have that option. Coming to the OS part, why we choose KDE? The main reason is, to be frank, it's a familiar UI. Windows people really find it easy to use KDE. It's very user friendly, and it also provides a lot of customization features. And Scribus, the main software they use for typesetting, it is in Qt, and KDE integrates well with Qt. The custom ASCII to Unicode software we developed, it also works with Qt. And KDE provides Plasma widgets, which is another cool feature. So what we customized a lot is regarding around the Plasma theme. We customized it to make it unique, to give the branding for Janayugom. The boot animation, from boot animation to wallpaper, and and their theme, we changed a lot to match the branding of Janayugom. And they were very happy with it. The Plasma splash screen, SDDM login theme, icon theme, custom menu icon theme. We almost redesigned the entire look and feel to make it look more unique to them. And one of the cool features they like most is dolphin features. As you know, it was entirely new to them to experience the tabbed browsing in a file manager. On one side, we show the demo with Firefox, and they compared it to a Dolphin, sharing the tabbed browsing feature and all. The same shortcuts, Control T to open a new tab, Control W to close it, Control Shift T opens a recently closed tab. They were very happy with it, and the split view was really helpful to them. Working with the two different directories at a time, switching is very easy with the split view. The file preview, even text files can be previewed. They work with text files most, so the content for newspaper, it is easy to preview before opening a text file. And a couple of additional features we added is service menus. For example, to edit images and PDF files, we added extra service menus to make it very easy for them. And the network options with the Dolphin to access remote files, that is also very handy. So this is a public announcement photo. Before explaining about that, let me say a little more about the background story of Scribus. Many of you may have been already familiar with it. Scribus is a cross-platform free and open source software for desktop publishing. Usually, before some time, it didn't support many languages such as Malayalam we use here. There was a project called Hostoman, headed by Fahad Al-Saidi, who introduced non-Latin language support with complex text layout in Scribus. That really helped us a lot, because only after that we were able to use Malayalam in Scribus. Without that, this whole project would have been even possible. So I would like to thank Mr. Fahad Al-Saidi and the entire Hostoman team for their valuable contribution to Scribus. Actually, that is the beauty of free software. People can add features missing. And the project, we took almost 1 month to complete the training session for about 100 staff. It was hands-on session. We took it in 3 batches. Everyone went fine because they were already familiar with the desktop publishing system, so it wasn't very hard to train them. The only issue is with the changing look and feel. But as I said, the KD made the transition very easy. Apart from just giving training regarding the software stack, we also introduced them the philosophy of free software, and we even recommended to upload the images and contribute to Wikimedia Commons and all. Sorry. Staff were very friendly and they cooperated with us, and they were very enthusiastic about learning all this. We talked about Creative Commons license and all. We also gave them training in basic, distro, how to interact with the desktop environment, and Inkscape. There were some couple of issues regarding hardware and all, because not all, we don't have free software drivers for all hardware out there, so we had some issues. Some of them we solved by checking many online forums and all, but some we couldn't fix, and we suggested them to buy new software. Excuse me. So after everyone got trained in using Scribus, we went for a pilot period of 1 month, where they slowly transitioned page by page each week. So it was actually a combination of Scribus and Adobe for some time. Once they were confident enough to switch completely to Scribus, we ran for another week, and it is on November 1st, the official announcement was done, and it was by Chief Minister of Kerala, Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan, as you can see in the photo. He announced the migration to free software stack and Unicode event. And we didn't support using proprietary platforms, whether it is social media or even for personal usage. So what we did instead for promoting the event was to share the post across free software based social media platforms such as Diaspora and Mastodon. We didn't even have a Twitter account. Actually, it is the Diaspora post that you can see here. And we also shared the content in Mastodon. From Mastodon, the post really picked up by got many shares, and even KD officially shared it. We were very happy with it. That's how we got real exposure. We got also featured on Hacker News, and what made me happy more is FSF officially shared the story. This is the Janayugom staff after the first training batch. After the training session and all, there are also a free, submit. A submit containing many people from different industries, press industry mainly, to discuss about the future of this project. Many were really interested. Even Kerala government offered support to continue with this project. It is a Kerala Media Academy who organized a 2-day summit. The summit was inaugurated by Fahad Al Saidi, who I mentioned before, who was the lead of Postman project and one of the core developers of Postman project, who contributed to Scribus. Everyone offered all support needed for further development in Scribus and this project. There was also another Scribus developer whom I should mention here. His name is Valeri Moldi. One experience I would like to share is, as soon as we filed a bug report, we got a patch to fix it in overnight. Overnight patch. We were able to fix the bug. The summit also became the venue for the formation of a consortium with the above mentioned representatives and IT experts to promote self-reliance in publishing. The consortium also promised to raise funds for further developments, and we really wish we can implement this in various other newspaper, so that free software, we can expect many free software based newspapers. So that's the story of Janayugom. We hope this inspire many newspapers to come forward to switch to free software, and we will be always happy to help. So the one receiving the presentation in this photo. This is Mr. Fahad Al Saidi. So I hope my time is over. The remaining session is left for question and answer.
Hi, Ambady. That was a
Hi.
great, inspiring talk. I would really like to mention this to the audience that he was so not well, but he still gave such a great talk. So applause for that. Great work.
Thanks a lot.
We have a few questions which I'll be reading out.
Sure.
The first question is, the talk seems to be focusing more on DTP aspects. Do you have online service integration such as Google AMP or news aggregator services?
Sorry, no. Currently, there is no online integration, but we are also working on a project called New Flow Management Software. It will have this cloud integration feature and all, but we are not planning to integrate Google AMP. We would like to keep it free software only.
Okay. The other question, would you mind sharing the action scripts? They could be handy even for blogging.
Actually, we haven't developed any action scripts yet. We host our entire, we haven't even shared the full, the software. As I said, the distro was based on Kubuntu, but we haven't shared the repo with, the actual code needed to build the distro. Instead, we shared the whatever we customized in a repo so that one can follow it and customize it as they like. Because even if you share, it contains the branding of Janayugom and all. There is no issue with sharing. The only issue is you will have to remove branding from it. So we just shared the tutorial to build the custom distro as they like. With all the customizations we have made, it is documented. It is available in git.hostcommunity.in, a custom Git repo, a custom GitLab instance hosted by Free Software Community of India. Back to the question, sorry that we don't have any action scripts to share now.
Okay, fine. The last question, any hard challenges you faced during this project?
Yes, actually, the first challenge was to make the staff confident that they can switch to a new software stack, because everyone was, familiar with the software which they have been using for almost 10 to 15 years. It is really hard for them to switch to a new software stack one day. So, preparing the staff to work with the new software stack was the main challenge, and after we were able to show a demo, they were really, started to gain confidence, and it was relatively easy for them to migrate. And some other challenges we faced was regarding hardware support for, many hardware doesn't support free software drivers and all. So some printers gave us some issues, and apart from that, everything went fine. And there is also issue with, Scribus is not yet fully, we can't compare it with Adobe InDesign. It still needs a lot of development, and we are working on that. We have a matrix room with the Scribus developers. We are discussing the changes we need, and they are very friendly, and I hope it will become advanced tool soon.
We hope the same too. Thank you so much, Ambady. Thank you for the great talk.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Okay, so a 5-minute short break, and then our next speaker will be there. Thank you. Hi Timothy, a quick reminder, please upload your presentation over here. In 2 minutes your presentation starts. Hello everyone, welcome back. Please welcome Timothée Giet, who will be talking on celebrating 20 years with GCompris.
Little issue with my webcam. Let's try again. Okay, sorry, I need to reload, I guess.
Sorry everyone, due to some technical glitch, Timothy had to go offline. He'll be back soon. Timothy, you are still on mute. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm back. I still have issues with video apparently. If it doesn't work, I'll do with just audio 10.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Okay, let's do like that then. Hi everyone, thank you for joining the talk. So this year we're still celebrating the 20 years of GCompris. So I will explain you what we've been working on and what to expect this year. So let's start. For those who don't know, GCompris is an educational suite for children from 2 to 10. With it you can, well, children can learn not everything, but almost, like from learning how to use a keyboard and mouse, but also reading, writing, mathematics, physics, all kinds of science, and discover a lot of different things. And it's used in primary schools all over the world. We've seen it used in schools in France, in Germany, Spain, India, Brazil, and so on. We also saw it deployed by associations in poor remote villages in Africa, in Asia, and other places. So we don't do anything to track the users, so I cannot tell exactly the number of users we have, but from the few metrics I have, I can say for sure we can count it as a few million users, for sure. So this year started, the change started in February. February, I decided to make the full version binaries of GCompris completely free of cost for all platforms. It was a change I had in mind for a lot of time. I wanted to do that change, but it was a big jump to do. So in the beginning of the year, as I saw the situation starting to get bad with the coronavirus, I anticipated that it would be a very good time to give this tool for every child in the world to can learn at home. So yeah, this was one day I wake up and say, okay, today let's do the switch. And I discussed with Johnny, the other co-maintainer, and within 1-2 days it was done. But then the question was, by making it at no cost, how could I keep working and fund my work on it? So I decided to go back on Patreon. I already had a Patreon page that I started when I started to work on the graphics for GCompris in 2015, but because it didn't work good, I left it alone and abandoned it a bit. But it was a good time to try again, and hopefully it does work good enough for now. I don't have yet that many patrons, but hopefully there's one company who deploys GCompris on pre-installed on hardware, and they agreed to support me on Patreon. So it helps to, for now, keep the same amount of work, same amount of time I can dedicate for that work. And then there was the lockdown effect in March, when the lockdown was starting to be effective everywhere, almost in the world. We could see a lot of blog posts from teachers all around recommending to parents to use GCompris at home for homeschooling for the kids. We even have some mails from teachers who previously bought the full version, and they were asking if they didn't see the news that we made it free, and they were asking if we could allow somehow their pupils to use it at home. And we say, yeah, that's already done. They can download the full version now, and yeah, let them enjoy it. We also saw lots of YouTube videos posted by different random people who wanted to show GCompris as a good alternative for homeschooling. You can just searching on YouTube and you will find a lot of funny and interesting results. Yeah. So what to expect very soon? Next release will finally be the 1.0 release that was waited by many people. The 1.0 because we restarted, as you know, rewrote the project from scratch, which started in 2014, and since then it took some time to port all the activities. We don't have yet all the activities from the old version, but we actually have more activities in number, and we have the most important ones. We wanted to achieve a few milestones before doing that 1.0 release, but we don't have all of them yet, but we have enough changes, significant changes to decide to make it this year. And well, for the 20 years, it was also a good time to celebrate. So for the improvement that we'll have in the next release, I will say after, but the release planning, we want to do string freeze in about a week. So for September 14th, we plan to do the string freeze, and I will provide beta packages for the translators to test or to check the context. We will do string freeze for, we think, 2 months, which is a bit big, but we have a lot of new strings to work on, and we'll also, I did review all the existing strings recently, so a lot of translators will find a lot of fuzzy strings they will have to adapt or retranslate. So it's a lot of work, so we will give them enough time to process. And during that time, it would be also a good time for everyone who want to provide missing voices for their language. So if your language is still missing some voices and you feel like recording your voice, you're welcome to contribute. Please do. Also, just before the string freeze, if some native English speakers want to make another round of review on the strings, you're welcome. There's still 1 week for that. So the main big feature for next release will be the multiple dataset. I already talked about it in previous talk. It's been a long ongoing effort. We started more than a year ago, almost 2 years ago. And the feature is to allow to split the content of an activity into several parts of different difficulty levels to make the activities more modular and more accessible for different ages. I will explain how it works. So here's the main menu of GCompris. Before we had just this tool icon for the main configuration, and we had the same icon in some activities for their activity configuration. Now we have this new icon, purple with 3 lines, which is for the activity settings. It contains both the activity options, but also the multiple dataset options for Is it better now? Voice is better? Okay, good.
Yes.
So, good. I'll continue. So in the main menu, what I was saying, we have star icons on each activity to represent its difficulty level. But now with multiple datasets, some activities can have two icons. The first one showing the minimum difficulty of the activated dataset, and the second one, the maximum difficulty. So you can have an idea of the range. So when clicking on an activity settings, you will find this menu with the dataset panel option open by default, showing the available dataset that you can enable or disable by clicking on the respective icon. And there's a second tab with the options if there are some options. And you can click cancel to just close without saving your changes, save to save your changes and go back to the menu, or save and start to save your changes and start the activity. So here you started the activity and you find again the same activity settings icon inside the activity. If you click on it from the activity, then it will open directly on the options tab, not the dataset one, because usually we expect users to want to set up the dataset before starting the activity, and changing the options is more something they would change while using the activity, typically. So here you can just close without saving or save and return to the activity. Another change that was needed to implement the multiple dataset feature, in the main configuration of the software, there's this difficulty filter option. It was used to filter activities according to their level of difficulty, but now it also filters dataset. So if, for example, I select 1 and 2 star difficulty, it will filter activities which has no content for this level, and it will also automatically filter the datasets and enable the corresponding ones. So now you see numbers with dice as only 1 and 2 stars, while before it had 1 and 3. And if you go in the menu, you see all the other datasets are hidden. We also have new activities for the next release. The first one is Gravity. This one I decided to work on because I wanted to replace an existing activity we had called Intro Gravity, which had several issues which was not really fixable. The main issue is that the concept of the activity was to change the size of the planet to move a spaceship, which by itself is a bit weird concept, and it was very hard to use, and it did not scale at all to phone screens. So I scrapped it and restarted a different one from scratch called Gravity. In this one, it's more simple and easy to use. There's just random planets in both sides of the screen going top down, and you have to move the spaceship and it will be attracted to the planet according to the gravity force, and the arrows on the top, the lengths change depending on the gravity. So it's more easy and fun to use than the previous one, and it gives good sense of gravity for the kids. The next new activity is Baby Keyboard. This one was requested by a user who wanted something very simple for his baby to get started using a keyboard. Now, it's the simplest activity possible. Just type any key on the keyboard and it will type the corresponding character and play the voice if there's one. The next activity is Learn Digits. This one was requested by Emmanuel, one of our contributors. It's based on an exercise. This contributor is a teacher for primary school, so it's based on an exercise he's using in his school to teach digits. So we display a number here, we play the voice, and the kid has to just click the number of dots and press OK to validate the answer. And there's also options to, instead of display digit, display some dots or display a hand to count to learn the value of each number and associate it with the voice. Next new activities are learn addition and learn subtraction, which are derivative of learn digits. It's the same, but just we show a simple addition or subtraction to just to learn the concept of those operations. And I kept the best for the end. The last new activity is analog electricity, which was the most missing one we had from the old version of GCompris that was not ported yet. And now we have it thanks to my wife Aishwarya, who decided to work on it this summer, since she has an electronics engineer degree, and she wants to work on software development now. It was a good exercise to practice our skills. So we have a feature parity, exact feature parity with the old activity, with first level with those three components: battery, bulb, and switch. Second level with a bit more components like rheostat, another kind of switch, 3-point switch, and a connection point. And third level with, again, more components like resistor, red LED. And yeah, we have same features, but we also have a few improvements compared to the old version. Like you can see all the wires share the same color if they share the same connection point, which helps to understand the circuit, how it works. Now, another improvement is that we can rotate components, we can zoom in, zoom out, and pan the canvas. These features come from the digital electricity activity we had, which we could copy some of the code, but it was not modular enough to can reuse it. We had to hard copy. Another good improvement is we have the information of each component. If you click on a component and click on the information icon, you will have a text explaining what this component does and how it's used. And another improvement is if you do a very weird circuit which should not work or is called illegal, as it's called in the engine we're using, well, then we will display a warning message explaining that there's a voltage loop or source shorted by wire, and then that you should fix your circuit to make the simulation work good. And of course, the bulb will break if there's too much current in it, and same for the red LED. If you use it without a resistor, you will have bad surprise. The next improvement is keyboard support. We fixed all the focus issues, and we added new keyboard controls. And I added new images for several activities, and made layout improvements again for several activities, and made countless bug fixes and usability improvements all around. So that's it. Thank you. I want to thank everyone, all the contributors, all my patrons supporting my work. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm not sure we'll have time, but let's see.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. We are out of time, so
Okay.
no questionnaires at the moment. If you have any questions, please contact Timothée directly. Thank you, Timothée. That was a great talk.
Yeah, thank you too. And yeah, don't hesitate to give questions directly.
Yeah. And we take a 5 minutes break now. See you after 5 minutes. Hello everyone, welcome back. So now our next speaker is Marta, who's going to give talk on a year in KDE from outside.
Hello, Bavisha. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. What is happening in KDE? It looks like a very simple question, but try to ask 5 different people. And I'm wondering what kind of answers you're going to get. Doing a small experiment, we are going to find very, very different answers. Much depending on which kind of social media or news sites those people are using. An idea for this talk came to me as I started to read a little less of KDE developers blog and a little more of general news because of lack of time to read all that is happening for the developers in KDE. And then I realized that depending on the news source, I get a completely different view of KDE. So, as of someone with a research background, let's do some research. When we start research, we define the observation time period. From Academy to Academy, from September 2019 to August 2020. So, what were the important KDE events during that time? Please use the chat and write down what you think was important, what you find important, what you've read on the different news sites. From the Academy to Academy, the Academy of 2019 included. Of course, there were a lot of things happening, and if we just go to the official KDE news sites, we'll find the release posts, we'll find developers' blogs, enormous amount of information. So, in the analysis I did, I assume that you are reading or listening a single news source, reading a website, listening to a podcast. My discovery of the last year are Linux-related podcasts, so I had to cover a little bit of that. And the news sites I have analyzed, it's my personal choice, the things I read, all the things I found interesting to tell you about. There were more I investigated, but I think that we can cover just a little bit. And then you will see what shows up from it. I decided not to use social media. So only news sites, podcasts, and no social media for very practical reasons. Social media is pretty hard to grab and analyze, and there's a lot of posts. So it's complicated to work with this data. And the other point was that you are probably aware, depending on who you are, social media gives you different content, depending on other things you are reading, other things you like. For me, and from every one of you, Facebook, other social media gives completely different things. So I found that it's not very reliable to look into. Yes, Instagram also. As Jonathan suggests, it also gives different things. That can be an idea for some further research in the future. but for the next one. So I can see that there is already, there are some ideas in the chat. We have KD working more on Wayland, monthly app updates, usability, productivity, several Plasma releases, Plasma 5.18 LTS, and the KT Instagram is probably very influential. I guess so. Haven't checked out. I guess so. With the nice screenshots. How I organized the results I present to you. I start from the sites where I found less reference to KDE, and then I'm going forward with more and more references. So let's get started. If the only thing you were reading was Tech Republic, you will learn very little about KDE. In November last year, there was an interview with Fedora project leader who was mentioning the KDE spin as one of the projects that there is. Then in the middle of year, we have had an article about which Linux user interface is best for which kind of what type of audience, and they decided that the Plasma is the best for admins. And there was one article about distribution-specific laptops, and it featured Slimbook, for example. And then, quite recently, there was one article with the title, "I'm still not switching for GNOME." Talking about new features of the KDE still, but with a conclusion, as you can probably imagine. So, not very much, nothing probably from the list I have written in the chat. Let's go forward to another site. Linux Weekly News. That's a little bit more complex. It's a more Linux, a lot of kernel, in-depth articles, and what do we find here? Not much in 2019, but in 2020 it starts to appear more. We have a point about the Plasma Bigscreen. We have a point about the Qt licensing, linking to the famous post on the KDE community mailing list about the issues between the Qt Foundation and KDE. I guess that probably everyone is a little bit aware of that story. And we also do have a pretty big covering of KDE Live and two versions. So we have 2004 and we have 2008. Later in the year, we have the release of Plasma 5.19, but not 5.18. And we have the Digicam release also. So you can probably see that we have the big releases. We have some preferred applications here. For some, a little bit surprising, finally. And the very big, important open source facing issue of licensing of Qt. Now, we are moving forward and we'll change the place and the way of accessing the media. Linux Unplugged. It's one of very popular Linux podcasts, getting out every week. From my point of view, very much distribution oriented and very much user oriented. They invite developers, but they are very much oriented to the end user. how the sysadmins and advanced Linux user can configure and work with their systems. And we have even more KDE stuff. I would probably start with the Plasma, going a little bit mixed in the time because the chronological, the going in time here may be a little bit complicated. We have the Plasma releases 5.17, 5.18. We have the Manjaro with Plasma that gets reviewed. We have the review in general of Plasma, different points of view on Plasma in the distro review episode. And we do have a little bit of hardware. We have the Kubuntu Focus. We have the Manjaro KDE on Pinbook. And what's interesting, we do have them covering the Neon based on the latest Ubuntu 20.04. From the things that are less known on the other sides, I would like to note, to point out that they have mentioned the fact that KDE was looking for a project manager. That's one of the episodes when the search was in progress. They were talking about it. And now, something that I couldn't put on the timeline because there was a little bit too much of it. On Foronix, you basically have an article every 3 to 4 days. When I look at just the KDE summaries page, there were 4 pages for the year. What we do have being covered every time it shows up is the Nate's blog post, The Week in KDE, which is summarized on the site every single week. And we do have the Plasma Mobile Weekly. When it was published, it was also summarized on the site. Now, they're covering also a lot of KDE releases. Quite obviously, there are all of the Plasma releases, the framework releases, and the KDE applications as a blog, but they also cover the big applications like Digicam, KDevelop, KDenLive, Krita. But surprisingly, also some of those that are a little bit, I think, less popular, like the Trinity Desktop, KML Online that went, and they also covered the Kwin FT fork. For those who missed it, because they were reading other sites, that is the fork to work to make Kwin better on Wayland. And that got covered multiple times. You probably noticed it also on the LWN net that was also mentioned, but only once. First part and the second part. They are also covering the developers' blog posts. I listed a few names that got covered, and there were some various posts about the conference presentations, about hardware. I found a point about Kubuntu Focus, a few of them, but I didn't find anything about Slimbook. They covered the GitLab migration, they covered the Bigscreen initiative, and they had an article about the KDE events in December, summarizing the whole year 2019. And now, a few takeaways from the whole thing. I was looking what the news sites do pick up. And I found out that there is a different KD year on each of those. And there's no COVID. If you look at KD, there's absolutely no COVID in there. The releases, they matter. Maybe not all of them, but they get covered. Good release documentation, materials related to the release, they do happen. They do make difference, and they will get taken by the new site. Plasma definitely is a thing, but also the big applications, the big popular application. In this year, what got covered on the hardware side were laptops. No phones whatsoever. Didn't find anything about KDE on phones this year. And that's probably understandable for most of you. The big changes happening in the project, be them good or bad, like licensing changes or licensing issues, like the conflicts happening in the project, like forks. If they happen, they have a big chance to be taken by the news sites. My suggestions for people working on projects, if you want to get covered, what you can do. Weekly news from projects, communities, and applications. That's something that gets read, and maybe not every single time, but from time to time the information goes out and is covered. Detailed blog posts, for example, about the design decisions behind the big changes and the modifications that are very much visible to the user. That's something that if you write a blog post about it, it can become popular and transmitted by the news sites. I also think I can even bet to that. If someone starts writing what is new in Plasma or in KDE, in a given distribution in the new version, that is likely to get covered. Definitely, the changes in KDE happen at some point, but the moment when it shows up in the distribution, it's a different moment of time. Many people will be interested in knowing that some of those changes did come to the distribution right now. Hardware running KDE, last point. That is definitely interesting to people. And if you write about hardware running on KDE, being laptops, be it phones, be it watches, or whatever you can find, I would say it's going to be covered. Before we wrap up and we go to the questions, a little bit a footnote about the data analysis. As a developer, I wanted to automate things. So I will grab the RSS, but the number of keywords related to KDE is big, because we have to cover KDE, we have to cover Plasma, we have to cover all of the biggest applications. And the feeds do not cover the whole year, but that's probably I can work around. On the other hand, there's the abstract of the news, and there is the news itself. For some sites, the KDE is not even in the abstract. It is in the content of the article. So you have to look for desktop review, for distribution review, and then look into the article itself to find out if the KDE is covered in there. So finally, most of the analysis was done manually, not all of it. If you know about the tools, I'm interested. And I'm also wondering that with all of those keywords, maybe I can do some artificial intelligence next time for the next analysis. That may be interesting experience. And now we'll go to the questions.
It was a great talk, Marta.
Thank you.
So yeah, we have a question. The monthly app updates don't tend to get many pointers. Isn't that a problem in the format?
A good question. I'm not sure why it gets no updates, no news. I can look into that. Maybe there is some issue with the referencing. I would say that it's definitely something that has a potential to be heavily linked, and I can look into that and try to suggest what you can do to make it more popular.
Okay, great. One more question. Can you come to promo and help us out there? We collect a lot of data, but could use your advice.
Yeah, definitely. That's something I will do soon. Coming back a little bit more in the development and in the data analysis, definitely I can help the promo team with that.
Okay. We have another question. There is a link which you will be able to see in the shared notes. If you're interested in hard data regarding coverage of KDE news, blogs, and so on, I think it's not a question.
Yeah, but very interesting. I take a note of the link. I wasn't aware, so I'm taking it. Definitely something to look into for me.
Yeah, and one person is asking, any good podcasts you looked at?
Depending what you are searching for. There are a lot of Linux podcasts out there. And depending on what kind of content you're looking for, if it's more of an admin user, Linux Unplugged for that, it's a very good. There are podcasts about new people coming to Linux, about more beginner stuff. I can probably come with some names, but they do not come just right now. You search in your favorite search engine for Linux podcasts. There's also, for example, the Ubuntu podcast that is pretty good. On my suggestion is go look for those podcasts. There are a lot of them. Listen to an episode or two, and you will make your mind finding out if it's interesting for you or not. That's the way I'm doing it.
Okay, great. So that's it. Thank you so much, Marta. You had
Thank you.
Amazing job. Thank you. We take a short 5 minutes break, and then our next speakers will be there. Thank you.
Hello everyone, 5-minute break. I'm looking forward to the next talk. Dan, I guess you're getting set up. I don't know if you have a co-speaker, Andrew? I hope everything is working well there. You can test the audio briefly just to know. Oh, hi Andrew. I don't hear you. So the trick is to click leave audio and then join audio again. It has this little headphone symbol. So maybe
little button
try
down on the bottom.
So then I hear you. Perfect. Andrew, if you click rejoining the audio, then hopefully we get it up and running. We still can't hear you, sadly. Yeah, now you have joined with audio and now you're muted. So if you click the mute button one more time, we're probably, yeah?
That sounds good to me.
Yay!
Hey! Awesome.
Excellent. Welcome. Academy 2020, the very special edition, the one everybody has been looking forward to. And I love how we have some slightly off the standard KDE development talks this year. This is going to be one of them. I think it's just so exciting. Yesterday it was interesting to learn about open source and dentists. Today we have tail wiggling. That is just so cool. Yes, we need to wait 3 more minutes. In the meantime, everybody gets excited. You can show that in the chat. Yeah, we are getting all fired up. Dan, I don't know if you have a video for us.
I'm seeing a button that says webcam sharing blocked.
Oh, let's try. Oh, you. No, you should be. I don't quite know. I can try and make you the presenter, which I don't know if that helps.
No.
Can you try? No, you do have audio. That makes no sense to me. Okay. In the worst case, you can quickly leave the room and rejoin, and we can try to give you rights again. I'm actually.
Yeah, I think I'll give that a quick shot. It normally works.
All right.
I'll do that.
Yeah, sorry for that. The UI of Big Blue Button, generally it works really nicely, I think, and awesome team, but sometimes it's a bit clumsy. So we'll just try to get all the technical bits figured out. Before, I didn't know about the tail company before reading the program, so great to learn new stuff.
I'm still seeing a locked webcam. What in the world?
Okay.
I was just testing it in the. Oh, I think I've done something stupid. Moment. Let's see. Yeah. So a really dumb thing you must not do is turn on the options for
There we go.
yeah, really dumb thing you must not do is turn on the options to not have webcams in a room if you want to share your webcam. Yeah, oops. Okay, right, upload
Very
presentation.
Nice. So both of you seem ready. Yes.
Yep.
Do you add a presentation here?
Yeah,
I think you can upload one.
It's converting.
Oh, and you can hear me all right?
We'll be ready in a moment.
Yeah, Andrew, you're loud and clear. That's awesome. I think you both seem technically set up. Get the presentation running. In the meantime, let's warm up the chat.
Yeah.
Is anyone else excited? I am excited.
There we go.
Very good. The highlight of today's presentations, I'm sure.
The highlight of the Academy.
Are we? Shall we rolling?
Well, we are live, but we have 1 minute before we officially really start.
Cool.
So you can take one last deep breath. There's something in the chat. Jonathan, what's that? I don't know. Some animal, I guess. At least for me, the icon is so small that I'm not sure. Cool. Yes, welcome. Now that's a skunk, I think.
Yeah, it looks very skunk-like, yeah.
Excellent. So at least Jonathan is happy to see you guys. All right.
The first one's a tiger, the other one's a skunk. Not entirely sure what's going on with that.
Give it up for Andrew and Dan. Looking forward to learn about the tail company. Go, people.
Excellent. Leinir, do you want to kick off and say a few words, or shall I just take presenter and start rolling?
Go for it.
Okay, let me click this button here. Okay, so we haven't got very long. In fact, we've got 5 minutes less than we thought. So I'm going to compress what I was going to talk about really into sort of 2 parts. I'm an artist, I'm a sculptor, and I was part of a group of artists, still am in fact, called Grey World, and we make public art usually in urban spaces, and we've been doing this for a very long time, about 25 years. I'm going to whiz through that a little bit because it's important just very quickly to understand why we ended up creating tails and animatronic ears, why that might be something where it comes from. Actually, the journey, very, very briefly, the journey that we've just in discovery, really, because it turns out that there are lots and lots of reasons why people want to wear tails and ears. And my set of reasons are mine and unique to me, but there are many people with very different other kinds of, interests. So very, very briefly, let me skip this forward. I'm a professor of public art at Goldsmiths, University of London. What that really entails is ways in which we investigate and play with different ways of interacting in public space. So I'm really interested in the methodologies and ways in which simple interaction can create something fantastic or fabulous, memorable, something fleeting, something ephemeral. And these are the kinds of things that we research. If you think about it, Grey World really is the thing that I've been spending most of my time with for a long time, and the professorship was an interesting way of actually sort of going a little bit deeper. I set up Grey World in '93. The first interactive artwork that I did, and this will give you start to give you a flavour of the kind of things that I'm personally interested in. You know, when you're a child and you pick up a stick and you run it along railings and get that lovely sound, we took a set of railings and we tuned them. So when you ran a stick along it, it played The Girl from Ipanema. Now, from my point of view, what that is as a public work of art is important, but it's just as important as what it isn't. You know, it isn't some big bronze statue with a traffic cone on his head. It's a method of creating interaction. So over the years, we've made lots of different projects, and I'm going to gloss through these very quickly. If you're interested, please go to greyworld.org. You can see hundreds of projects. But let me start by showing you some quick videos of some projects that we've done. Let's see if this works. Of course it's going to work. I'm going to show a video by clicking on this little thing down here. Actions, is that right? Here we are. Share an external video, paste it in there, Apple TV, and hit go.
After 2 centuries of trading at the same site in the City of London, the stock exchange is moving to a striking new home next to St. Paul. After 2 centuries of trading at the same site in the City of London, the stock exchange is moving to a striking new home next to St. Paul's Cathedral. The Queen opened the building today, with all eyes on the rather beguiling work of art which forms the centrepiece of the new stock exchange, as June Kelly now explains.
So this is an 8-story high artwork. Please note they're very terrified and the source should come to life.
It was perhaps one of the most unusual invitations the Queen has ever received. She pressed one electronic ball and more than 700 others suspended on metal cables began to move. The balls are the centrepiece and talking point of the new stock exchange building.
What we've tried to do with this sculpture is create something which makes physical the ephemeral nature of the stock market. For many, it's a very...
What I'm trying to do there is to make physical what is to many people a completely mysterious thing. I mean, the stock market's trades go up and down. We tried to make a 3D sculpture, a sculpture which you can model almost anything by sending those spheres to different parts of the atrium. I'm going to whiz through. I could talk about just that one for about a month, but I think you might all just want to clear yourself. So I'm going to show you something else really quickly. Apple C, click on here, down here. stop sharing external video. Share an external video. Here we go. Paste it in there. This is another kind of interactive work. This is a project called Paint. Let's see if it'll start playing. You think, well, I have to, is it playing for you guys? Oh, there it is. Okay, great. Take a photograph of yourself and squirt that photograph into a bucket, and then hurl your face all over a wall. Of course, other people with their buckets can come along and hurl their faces all over that wall, all over the wall too. And if you don't have a bucket, you can do it from your phone. Take a photograph of that, and squirt the paint all over the wall, spray your face all over the wall. And because this is a work, you can have paint boards across the world. And this explored the world. It did really nice things. It was fun. Basically, the brand was very keen for us to play as much as we wanted, and that's what we found. Okay, let me show you another one. There's another one. Basically, I've always wanted to make a rainbow, and I wanted to make the biggest, brightest, gayest rainbow I could possibly make to celebrate Pride. And so we decided to create something that has the Parliament in the centre of London, and it's called Night Rainbow. We took the water from created a 35-metre Okay, sorry, there's so many things that I could show, but really what I want to try and get across is the idea that our work is about play. It's about often gentle methods of interaction and creating situations which are playful, but also give you a sense of being creative in some way. You've seen the things there. I'm actually not going to show gravity after all, but and that leads me to Tails. You know, it's been amazing. I just wanted to have a tail. I've always wanted to have a tail. I think evolution has been particularly cruel in that regard. You know, when I look at my cat and I wonder what's going on in his mind, it's often his tail, which really gives me a sense of his mood. And for me, the experiments with tails really started off as a Grey-Ward installation. They were opportunities to create really interesting and exciting little creative moments in a city. So you can imagine, for example, being well dressed and going into the bank, but having your tail knock the pencils off when you're applying for an overdraft. Or you can imagine sitting next to somebody that you're attracted to, and whilst you're unable to actually express yourself, your tail is making it very clear that you're particularly interested in the person that you're sitting next to. For me, it was a wonderful extension of humanity, really, but also it was an opportunity to create little special moments that perhaps you wouldn't be able to create without one. And so the Tail Company was born. It started off as an installation with Grey-Ward, as I say. Let me just show you our first prototype. Let's see if this works. Click the button, paste the link, like that. So this is our first prototype. This is 2006. And you might have noticed I'm not a shy with time. So this was the little gun. The original outfit idea was top hat and tails, you see. This is without doubt the coolest part of London in inverted commas, which means that a lot of the people in this video pretend to not notice the fact that the man's got a tail. Yeah, I'll just keep it running until I end up with people. Just watch this guy walking past. Right? That's how cool he's looking. Very, very cool. But anyway, you kind of get what I mean about this fella here, you'll see. Picks up a magazine. Is it interested in that? No. Down goes his tail. Much more. So it becomes kind of a very simple way of anyway, the point is, at this point, we were very interested in that opportunity, that creative opportunity. Every time I showed the tail, every time I did a talk or a speech wearing a tail or in an urban space, people kept saying, oh, I want a tail. I've always wanted a tail. I had a tail when I was a kid. I made one out of some material. And I suddenly realized that it was a kind of universal feeling that for many people, it was a childhood thing. And for some, far more than we can probably imagine. It's something that is still there into adulthood. And I was delighted to hear this. We set up the tail company. And we ended up with a business. And let me just show you this. Let's see which one I've chosen. Okay, so this is just a selection of tails. Not that many. I just kind of edited it together. The original tails were remote controlled. They have 9 moves, and you can call them up on a remote. And I was absolutely blessed to meet Leinir, who allowed us really to take that into a new direction and open up all the possibilities that software would give us. Let me just show you what I mean by that. By copying this one. There's we can basically our tails, the digitails, which are the app-controlled tails, which Leinir wrote, can learn new tricks. At the moment, we're just adding the feature so that as you walk, the tail can work out your speed and your motion and create moves based on that, on the fly. Recently, we've added move alarms and we've added all kinds of new things. And that's the wonderful thing about breaking out of the hardware there and allowing big brains to come along and solve some other problems. And most recently of all, how am I doing for time? 2 minutes over. Most recent of all, we've started playing with ears, which I'm just going to show you this. Beautifully, they sync with the tails. They're being modeled as we can great bit of guitar playing too. So the point is, it's an ecosystem, to use that cheesy word, but it really is. If you've got digitail and you've got the ears, they can now sync together. They are something that is being actively developed. I mean, they're out now, and people are getting them, and there's things that we will keep adding, changing things to them as life goes on. But it's been a really exciting little journey so far. And as I say, thanks to Leinir and their skills and their understanding of KDE, which I'm sure, and the blockchain, this system line of software, I think we're going to have a very interesting kind of future. If anybody is interested in getting hold of them, please put the word KDE Talk in the box on the checkout if you are interested. If you do, I will put some special presents in there only for people who've sat here and handled me for 12 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Leinir right now. All yours, mate.
All right. Let me just see if I can do this. Take presenter. All right. There we go. Right. So some of you will already know me, but I'll quickly run through who I am. I have been a member of the KDE community since about as long as I can really remember doing computery things, but since 2002. My first Akademy was in 2007. Which was in Glasgow, of all places. I have tails, come and talk. And sort of my main work has been through the unfortunately now defunct Gluon, but many things came out of that. So there's a whole lot of stuff which grew out of Gluon, which is now in all sorts of places throughout, used throughout KD's software stack. My main interaction, or my day job right now is with Blue Systems, and effectively I'm sponsored to work on various bits of the KD software stack. Most notably, that would be Kirigami, which we use for the app that controls these things. I'm also the maintainer of Peruse, which is a comic book reader, and I have just been told that I should take over maintainership of KNew Stuff, which is the software that lets us interact directly with the KD store. And occasionally I look like that, which is kind of how I ended up in contact with Andrew and his entire thing. So the way I found my way into this was, you look through Kickstarter and go, ooh, that looks kind of cool. Is it a thing? I don't know. Oh, wait, it is a thing. It's an actual thing that someone has made and that it actually works. So that's neat. There's the thing. And wait, the people that run it are pretty cool. You've just seen all of the stuff that Andrew's been involved with before, and all of you present yourself on Kickstarter. That's the sort of thing you find. So people with will and skill and intention and all of that. So perfect storm of good ideas. And then so I joined the Telegram chat, and we got to talking about, so what are you going to do with the software? And we don't really know yet. We've heard of this thing called Electron, which if anybody here has worked with that, it's basically a browser that you use to, you stick it, you clone Chromium, and then you stick that in in a container, and you use that to write your apps. And it can be fine for many things, but the problem is the biggest functional problem with that is if you've got a phone and you put it to sleep, any Electron app will also go to sleep. So there's no real way of having that sort of thing run in the background. So there would have been quite a lot of work involved in getting that to work in any reasonable way, and Electron would not have helped there. And so I suggested, well, we've kind of got a software stack that can do a lot of this stuff, so do you want some help? Then, well, I guess I could help out with it a bit. And so, that thing where you're building hardware, you're not really building software, so how about we make it a GPL project? And that took like, I don't know, was it 5 minutes it took you to realize that? Something like that. It was pretty fast anyway. Yeah, I mean, obviously, free software being this kind of liberal arts sort of thing to start with, it makes perfect sense. It sort of just fits together really well. And so that's how, we ended up doing that whole thing. And so that's a couple of screenshots of what the app looks like. If you want a closer look, I'll give you one, but we're running through a little bit quick here. So, yeah. Exactly. So just a quick list of the things that we are already using. If you want to know more about how to work with KDE software on Android and how KDE Stack helps that, there is a talk in this room immediately after hours, except, a few hours down the line. I think it's at 5 o'clock. Oh, wait. Yeah, whatever. The next talk in this room is specifically about that. So drop by there, it's really good. And so couple of specifics for the actual things we use. Obviously, we use the Android build Docker because working with Android Studio is occasionally something of a nightmare. So we're using that one to build all of our things. The Android services are the things that make it possible for this to be off and still control the ears and the tail. And that's the way you do that is using remote objects, or the easiest way to do it anyway. Then obviously for the UI and the workflow and all of the pretty things, we use Kirigami and the Breeze icon set. And it's one of those things where I am unsure whether people realize just how much power is in having a gigantic set of icons like Breeze when you're building software. It makes an enormous difference when you don't have to go out and get, icons drawn and all of that. So yeah, definitely something people will need to look at. And it's something that we can market to people out there. So yeah, very helpful. And then there's a couple of future bits of work here. And one of so I'm just going to leave that on there and mention KNU stuff, because of course I am. I'm not going to go through a talk without not mentioning KNU stuff. So one thing that we did when we came up with how to make the ears do their thing was that we created a small domain-specific language to describe the ways these things wiggle. And that's just a text file, which is JSON and can be put anywhere, really. And the sort of semi-midterm kind of idea for that is that we would like to eventually make it possible to share the moves and things that these things do. And so KNU stuff is the obvious choice for that. We already have all of the functionality there. So we've got the store for it. We've got all the server-side stuff. We've got we've got all the bits that make that work. So yeah. And then very short. I think we might want to skip that because we're now 22 minutes.
Yeah, and you're doing it ably anyway. Sure.
Oh yeah, I'm just holding this little thing here.
What I'd really like to do as well is just for 10 seconds, just to say thank you to the people who've supported us, especially Dark Brew, Tatsui Seki, Tigris, Kaldar, Double Wagger, Derby Jen, and Wolfie, and not forgetting the grumpiest cat of all talent for being there when we need it. Because a lot of this is made, reflected back, altered, changed, and put back out there. So we can't really do this at all in a bubble. This is the nature of open source.
Yeah, there's a lot of interaction, goes in various different directions.
Awesome stuff. I think we have now 2 minutes for questions, and you do feel free to demo in the meantime. I mean, just entertain us. Leinir. Yeah.
I wish we had more.
Well, I have effectively been demoing the whole time. I haven't touched the phone since we started, but so one of the things that you'll notice on this is where it says Digital connected to, that's a thing that we'll need to fix. It says I'm connected to a tail. This is not a tail. So obviously bugs and people notice these things, so that's getting fixed the next version. But one of the things that means is that's how Android allows you to run stuff in the background.
That's right. And we have a fantastic mode called casual mode, which means you're not sitting there with a phone in your hand making it do stuff. I'm feeling in this particular kind of emotion. You can select a set of moves, stick it in your pocket, and go about your life. And that's casual mode.
All right. The question you guys have is actually, how do you teach them new movements? ML, AI, new additions in the code, data?
Well, Leinir has actually just has a language now which you can use to create moves, and that was a bit of a mind blow. I mean, for us, it was more hardware, how you move the servos, how they do. But Leinir has now developed that into a kind of a scripting language which allows you to describe things and let those moves live. So it's very exciting for the future.
Technically speaking, it's a JSON file, but yeah, it's a very small list of commands that you send over Bluetooth that makes them do things.
Awesome. I hope many people will get one try it. So good luck, you guys. That's so awesome. Thanks for enriching us here. So actually,
thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah. So we are out of time for this talk. Right now, this room is empty though, so we are actually technically not in a super huge hurry. Thanks again for the fun presentation. I really enjoyed it. I think everybody else did too. Yeah, over at the other room, we have something. What's coming up? Yeah, we have 3 lightning talks coming up. Virtual sprints, the fiduciary license agreement. I can't pronounce that, but something like that. And super secret personal features. After that, we will have a lunch break, which is quite a long break since we want to accommodate different time zones a bit. We will have another round of four-way track experience. So we will, after the session finishes, try some experiments, meet up in a room and have casual chit-chat. So I hope everybody will stick around. We'll have a new room for that. We announce that after the lightning talks. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining here, and well, see you in the other room. Thanks, Leinir.
Oh, if there's an interest for above, we can do a thing, but no plans yet.
All right.
Let's know.